In the middle of tremendous darkness and personal tragedy, false lights are trying to guide us, and they can bring shipwreck. We must be focused on God's pathways and His light in the storms of life. Christ is the light of navigation. Hello, and welcome to the Light of Navigation and this Reflections podcast. My name is Marguerite Lever-Woodall, and I'm an author, speaker, and your host. In these podcasts, I love to explore and contemplate different life issues and their solutions through the lens of God's wisdom and His words. In this 22nd episode, called Just One More Tattoo, there's a brief glimpse into the subtle messages God loves to give us. Messages come in many forms. Have you seen them? Have you experienced them? They're all around you. Join me in giving thought on the tough issues of life, and let's discover God's pathways through them. I've watched as this current generation of young people have embraced every tattoo possible, and some older people as well. Their entire bodies have become a grand display, a roadmap, or a canvas of every illustration possible. Many tattoos have a very personal origin. They carry a statement that is immensely important to the wearer. It can be about an event that impacted their lives, or someone whose influence marked their life deeply, or a memorial to a loved one or friend who's passed away. I'm not a fan of them, and I don't plan on getting one. There's not enough space on my body to tell the history. My point is that tats often tell a story, and can also convey a message. Though I certainly will not judge any individual because of their numerous tats, I've often wondered where someone would put just one more tattoo when there seems to be no more room on the canvas. My son had several tattoos, and each one had a story behind it. Every time I turned around, there was another tat that he had acquired that I didn't know about. There was a tattoo that said, "Trust God," and it was written in large capitalized lettering down his right side. I asked him why he had that declaration tattooed there, and in such bold wording. His response was brief, referring to a close friend who had deeply betrayed him in the past. He had decided, after much thought, that the only person who could really be trusted in life was God. And he wanted to make a statement about that. I often thought about teasing my son about needing more room on his body for just one more tattoo, though I never did. I also wondered if eventually his body would become a roadmap like many others, with several more tats lined up in the future. The second tat was on his left arm and was an accolade to a best friend. This friend had died suddenly in a tragic car accident, and it impacted my son deeply. This tattoo spoke volumes to me as well about life beyond physical death. It read, "There is no death, only a change of worlds." Yet again there was a third tattoo, which was unfinished, which gave loving praise for his grandmother, his father's mother. He loved her dearly. She had been a huge part of his life and gave him some semblance of connection with the dad that he had lost as a child. For those of you who do not know my story, my son Randall died of an accidental drug overdose in October of 2016 at the age of 32. He had accepted Christ as a young boy, but in his teenage years and through early 30s, his life seemed to spiral out of control. He was the quintessential prodigal son. Much of it was due to the emotional repercussions from the death of his dad years before. Without a dad present, coping with life can be difficult at best. I remember when he came home one day from school, he was in junior high at the time, and he was terribly upset. When I inquired why, his reply was, "I'm the only kid who doesn't have a father." I said, "But you did, though he passed away." He replied, "You don't understand, Mom. The other kids have a dad, even if the parents are divorced." I've never forgotten that brief conversation, and I hurt deeply for him as his mother when he said it. Truthfully, my greatest fear in the midst of all of this was where Randall stood with God as a prodigal, a son who was afar off from the Lord spiritually. It haunted me deeply, and it had the potential to torment me endlessly. It was no picnic reading the autopsy report. I hurt for parents who have to read one. I finally came to a place emotionally a year later where I could read through the postmortem report I'd been sent. Of course, this included a detailed description of his physical appearance as well. Every tattoo Randall had was listed on the final page of this report. As I carefully read through it, I noticed that one more tat he had forgotten to mention was listed. Just one more tattoo. The unknown inked message was centered and inscribed directly over his heart. And in bold letters it said, "Forgiven." Thank you for taking time to listen today. If this podcast encourages someone you know who's missing those little God messages that can be so important, please pass it on. Your comments are valued, and subscribing would also be deeply appreciated. In the next episode of Reflections titled Unflappable, there's a closer look at what it means to be steady in life, unmovable and steadfast as well. Life is full of uproars. Do you get caught in them?